Hello, my name is Dr. Linda V. Brown, and welcome to our TV and slash podcast. So I will be giving you information for those of you who are listening to the podcast, a direct link for the visual component of this presentation. As I stated, I am Dr. Linda V. Brown, and I am the CEO and senior trainer for Brown Leadership Consulting. And I'll give you information at the end of this presentation on how you may communicate with me. This is our first podcast, and we are excited to get started because we are operating in a time of lots of questions and not enough answers. And because of that, this is called change. And change is a small word with lots of depth as well as broad scope meaning and interpretation by many folks. As diverse as a demographic study can give you, trust me, that's the word change. It's all about that. So I'm going to use that as our introduction to have you to ask yourself this question. Now what are you going to do? Because change is here. It is inevitable. Whether you agree with it, try to participate in bringing about a more positive change, the important thing is this: it's not going away. Now, how are you coping with that? And so we're going to make some discoveries with starting with yourself. Because the better you know yourself from the inside out, the better you're going to be able to know the direction and with whom, including yourself, can you bring about something positive. And maybe that change of positivity can be everlasting and definitely ever impacting, not only to yourself, but the receiver of this great goodwill that you're doing. So in moving forward, one of the things I'll be doing is introducing a tool that I have used over the years called DISC analysis. It is very well known as a communication skill tool that is used by so many HR departments across all industries, which it means we get to know you as an HR department for the best candidates that will fit the job description for the applicants that are coming on board. In other words, you may have done exceptionally well on paper and in the interview, but character-wise, who are you? Are you coming into a set environment? Will you be a complete direct fit? Or will there be, maybe not for this position at this industry? That way, HR is not wasting their time and you're not wasting yours. So let's get busy. Brief introduction to Linda Brown, and when you get this, you guys, I am from Natchitoches, Louisiana, a long word for a small but very historical site. I love that little town. It's spelled Natchitoches. And coming from a little country farm girl, a mother who was a school teacher, daddy who was a logger, education was number one for us. So real briefly, I attended Southern University, graduated and majored in education, specifically history. And then I attended Prairie View A&M, where I received my master's degree in education administration. And then not too long after that, I completed my PhD at the University of Texas, Austin, in the area of leadership and human capital development, or I should say leadership and organizational development. Because we do specialize in human capital development, and I have a tendency to blend those two because nothing works in a system without the human participation. So upon graduating, I have held several positions. I was a school teacher in Fort Bend School District. I also was a coach and was district champions in the areas in the sports of volleyball, basketball, and track. So with those accomplishments, I combined Who Are You, Linda Brown, and said, what else can I do? So I went on to become a community college vice president, a four-year institution associate vice chancellor. And then I decided that I would strike out on my own, and I became a CEO and top trainer for my company called Brown Leadership Consulting. So we'll give you more information on that as we go forward. But I wanted to give you a little bit of depth of my background, because one of the things I wanted you to understand that as I give my opinion through this process of the podcast as well as the recording, I want you to understand that I've been there and kind of done that with much to be learned, but also came from a strong infrastructure of experiences of learning. So let me get started with introducing you DISC. I love this tool because, as I stated, it really helps you to get to confront yourself from the inside out. And there are 3 I's that I've registered as a part of those identification processes, that now that I kind of know who I am, what do I do with it? See, there's always something of that continuation sometimes that's left out. So DISC is your tool to reveal that. Brown Leadership Consulting, what we do is say, now that you kind of have an idea as to who you may be from the inside out, Brown Leadership say you need to get in touch with that internal vision as to who you are. Confront yourself, that inner being. That's the first I. The second I is, now that you've made that discovery, let us talk about interventions. In other words, it's kind of like that Janet Jackson song of, what has that done for you lately? And I know she's referring it to a person, but you are the person that I'm asking you to do that intervention of discoveries. Get rid of those items, those things, those feelings, those emotions that has served no purpose, but has become an anchor for your creativity, for moving forward. You have to cleanse and detox. That'll take us to the third I, which is innovation. You see, when you've done that detox and you've replaced it with positive things that you start remembering and started putting into place those voids with positive remembrance as well as experiences, credentials, and growth, now you can become more creative. Your innovational spirit will fall into place and you will discover a new you. And you know what? You just may like that. And that's what DISC does. DISC says, let us help you to understand who you are from the inside out. And in doing so, let's everything workplace DISC, which is one of many tools and products that they have. I like the workplace because that's where we spend a lot of time. It will help you to explore, identify styles and priorities that drive you. And it will also help you to understand better the people who are similar like you, so you can start building those interrelationships in the workplace. But it will also help you to communicate and work with in a harm and very, I should say, calm, not harmful, but calm manner, where with those who are not like you at all. So there's much to be learned. And moving forward, the interview, this particular process now takes us into a visual video interview.
What if people had their needs written all over them? If you knew that this person wanted more independence, and that person wanted a bit more reassurance, would it change the way you work together? Would it make your job easier? Yeah, it probably would. But that's not the real world. Or is it? Maybe if you had the right decoder, everyone's needs would be a lot more obvious. It would be clear how to work more effectively together, to be more productive, more satisfied. All you would need is a tool to help you understand where people are coming from. This is DISC, your decoder. It gives you a way to quickly understand the needs and priorities of the people around you. It describes 4 basic styles: D, I, S, and C. Here's how it works. First, everyone has a dot. That dot tells you your DISC style. For instance, if you have a D, or dominant style, you probably drive toward results, insist on immediate action, and challenge the status quo. Most likely, other people with the D style share your priorities, even though you might butt heads from time to time. Different styles may find this same D approach to be blunt, intimidating, or insensitive. If you have an I, or influence style, you probably approach work with enthusiasm, enjoy collaboration, and take quick action. Others with the I style probably find your energy exciting, even if the two of you are a little too optimistic at times. Different styles may find this sort of liveliness and fast pace to be sloppy or reckless. Or you may have an S, or steadiness style, which means you like to support people, maintain stability, and enjoy collaboration. People with the S style will probably appreciate your patient and easygoing nature, even if that means there's little sense of urgency. Different styles might see you as overly accommodating or indecisive. And finally, if you have a C, or conscientiousness style, you probably focus on accuracy. Use your logic to challenge ideas and seek stability to ensure consistent outcomes. Others with the C style will like that you prioritize getting things right, even if the two of you can get bogged down in analysis. But for people with different styles, this cautious pace may feel dry, sapping their natural energy. Now, in the real world, it's not always that simple. Your dot can be between 2 styles, such as in the area between I and S, and you can have 4 or even 5 priorities. For example, in addition to collaboration, enthusiasm, and support, you might also share the priority of accuracy with your C coworkers. The point is, even though you need to recognize your own DISC style, you also need to know where the people you work with are coming from. Whether you're simply connecting with others, solving problems, or working through conflict, you'll have to stretch from time to time. And using DISC as a guide, you'll have a better sense of when and why that sort of adapting is so crucial to not only your success, but the success of everyone in your workplace.
Okay, so we had an opportunity to see the video. I think one of the key factors that was given was, number one, what if we could know the coding of every individual in any space, be it workplace or that in our personal and social lives? Guess what? We would know how to decode that which we did know to get to know better who we are as well as who they are, therefore increasing communication. And maybe we would have less frustration, stress, and all the other negative things that we're not going to spend time on. We're here for positivity. The 4 major components of DISC, the D stands for dominance, the I stands for influence, the S stands for steadiness, and the C is conscientiousness. Human beings in general, regardless of the demographics of who, identification of who you are, your culture, your religious or non-religious beliefs, your level of education, your economic status. It doesn't matter. Just being a human being. When situations present itself, one of the things that we will do is we will have dominance of two of characters that's kind of part of our DNA. So a dominant person will have some influence, of course, because they want to get you to do what they like you to do the way they want you to do it. And so that domination usually is not as friendly as an influence person. An influence person will try to incorporate everyone's opinion. The steadiness is a consistency, putting human people first, but at the same time, accommodating in our stages now of different technologies that we can use. A conscientious person is extremely analytical, ask a lot of questions, and can oftentimes be more of systematic approach versus that of the human race approach. So as a summary, one of the things we can say about DISC, and we're about to unfold each one of these, is that you will be more than just one of these at any given time, depending upon the situation and the players in that situation. Leaders, you will find yourself fluctuating among all of these all of the time. Why? Because it's going to be situationally driven, engaging the systematic approach for performances, but at the same time, taking a look at who is the person and players that is a part of this situation. We'll spend a little bit more time on that as we go forward. I wanted to peel back the onions on this without making you cry, or in the industry, they say, okay, let us now take a look more at unpacking this. So if you are fast-paced and outspoken, more than likely you are dominant. If you're accepting and warm, you are very influential. If you are cautious and reflective, more than likely you are definitely more of a steadiness person. You like the consistency, which means you can blend pretty good systematic approaches with that of the people you have to engage with. If you're more questioning and skeptical, you're more systematic approach versus that of here's the system. Now people fall in line. You prefer the system over people. So let's peel it back one time. In the dominance, we've covered that. I've also the fact that in the I want to examine that a little bit closer, and I'll tell you why. I recently took this tool. I am more of an influential person who loves to dip into the steadiness kind of people because they're so good at blending systematic approaches with that of the people who's going to make the system work. And I said, yes, that's me. And then it also flowed over into the D. And I went, oh, Lord, that's the side of me that I don't even like. When I feel like I have to be so domineering beyond that of using influence, I have to be extremely tactical in my approach. Now, leaders, this is something that introduces us to the 3 C's. I'm going to stay at these 2 entities right now before I go forward. Just to reiterate, number 1, dominance is you are fast-paced. Let's get it done. It should have been done yesterday. Influence is more like we have a task to be done. I need your help. Please help me to get this done. And then that means engaging the system. We're going to talk about the 3 C's. The 3 C's that I register starts with communication. You need to know yourself as a communicator to that of the message you're going to be sending to the receiver. In doing so with the receiver, know that receiver's profile in general. Know your people, leaders, not only what their performance expectations are in the workplace, but definitely what it is that you'd like for them to do from the stance of, did you give them the right tools to do the job efficiently and effectively? This is where the system plays a role. So my 3 C's is: first, communication. The second C is collaboration. When people understand the system and understand their role in the system and how to perform at a level of expectation, now you can build collaborative teams. Each member is a team within their own selves. That's something that we don't want to do, that mirror reflection. You see yourself in the mirror as an individual, but guess what? It also requires you to be a very strong team member to others who are not performing the same duty that you have as a role player within the links of the chain. The weakest link needs to do an adjustment. Sometimes it means that you need to replace it. At the end of the day, the bottom line is this: did you help someone through helping yourself first so that you're better prepared to help others? And that means you'll end up going back through the eye of influence in your communication and your approach. Sometimes you will have to result into a D. So S is very phenomenal to me in being able to make sure this combined of system and people working collaboratively together. The third C is bringing about cooperation. This is where we are very excited to say that I can give a task, give you the deadline as a leader, and I don't have to worry about my team. My team will take care of itself. But one of the things that they know for sure, I got their back. My door is open. You have a question, and no question is a stupid question. Ignorance is a very high level of not clarity of understanding. Stupidity is doing it when you already know you should not have done it. And oftentimes we as a general public, we confuse the meaning of those two. So let us move forward to talking about more operative in a system. These are the people who are going to be skeptical. They're going to push back. They're going to ask a lot of questions. Sometimes that's an intentional detainment so that they don't have to work and can take a longer break or whatever way they use their time on Amazon or whatever. The point of the matter is, it's not about blaming, because we are all held responsible for, at the end of the day, did we get the job done? Not just completion, but with quality versus that of quantity. And oftentimes leaders get that confused as well. And so be careful with that. Give them the appropriate timeline that's needed so that you'll have the back time to make necessary corrections to make it more of a quality than that of the quantity of time engagement to get the job done. So this is, if you've gotten this part as a quick review, I can tell you right now, you already have clarity on DISC and its movement. Dominant, fast-paced, outspoken. I for influence, more accepting, more warm, but you're not a pushover. S is for conscientious and reflective. And C is for questioning, being skeptical. And moving forward, it comes in sort of like different levels of where does that dot fall, that magical dot. If you're slightly into the influence, it's going to be towards that equator line, that division line. In other words, you're so close in here in the influence that you could also be equally there for dominance if necessary, as well as the steadiness and the conscientious. But the more center focused you are, this is where your influence is going to have a little bit more dominance, and you'll probably go more towards steadiness before you'll go to dominance, but you're always available to answer the conscientious person that is skeptical and have a lot of questions. And sometimes as a person of influence that I love being, it gives you an opportunity to do the moderate. In doing so, if you're a strong influence, which was more dominating for me, I don't want to over push my way because I may think I'm performing through influence doors when I'm actually being dominant. So we have to be careful with how strong are we in each of these. But as a leader, trust me, this dot will continue to go from slight to moderate to that of strong, depending upon the situation and your team at hand. Again, my name is Dr. Linda V. Brown, and I am the president and CEO for Brown Leadership Consulting. I invite you to visit my website at www.lindavbrownphd.com, and it's also my email address, which you can use. It's Dr. Dr. Brown, and which is BROWN, of course, at the same website address at lindavbrownphd.com. Thank you so much. And I hope you learned a lot. So let's get busy.